Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back on our XJ project. Kind of backpedaling a little bit on this one. In our initial kickoff video for the XJ project, we did the DIY rear bumper. We're going to do another one because we did do a development change on this. We changed and tweaked a few things to make it a little more easy on our guys in the laser and bend shop to build these in-house before we were outsourcing to a local machine shop for that stuff. So we're going to do a full weld up of this, and then we're going to do an install on the XJ project. It won't be powder coated finish, but that way you guys can see what it entails to actually install it on the Jeep. After that, we'll send this off to get powdered, so the XJ's got a nice shiny black bumper on it. So just to show you guys the biggest difference in the new rear bumper is essentially the main body had this bent corner already on it. It made it really difficult to bend in one single piece. So we redesigned this end cap, and now it's going to be a weld-in piece. So that one's just going to sit right in here and get burned in. Left, exposed weld, grind it down, whatever you want to do. But that's the biggest change. So we'll start assembly on this, and then you guys can see how that kind of goes together, and then we'll decide if we're going to grind her down or if we're going to leave it exposed when they send it to powder. So we got our D-rings in. It does take a little bit of coaxing. Nothing too crazy, but it is a tight tolerance to get those tapped in and then get your gaps even on both sides for your weld. And then this is the big change on the new one. So this is part of our new end cap here. So that's going to sit like so. And then your new wing plate is going to cap right over. Everything's going to sit just like that. So that's just a rough of it. But we got it all magneted on the other side ready to tack. So we'll jump over here and show you roughly what it's going to look like, boxed up, ready to go. So we're using our internal gussets for our gap, because you will have a gap underneath that you want it to sit on. And then just get your tolerances. You want a little bit of a gap for your weld. Get it as tight as you can. We're going to do some grinding, get it all boxed in, get it tacked together. Get the welder out. All right, so we just double checked all of our tolerances, clearances. We want to leave a decent gap here for our weld to get in there and hold tight. So make sure you got some clamps, you got some magnets. It's going to help. Or like 2 or 3 buddies to have steady hands to hold everything while you tack it together. But we're good to go here. We're going to tack this side on, then move all of our magnets and everything over the other side and get that tacked on. That was a great start. So I've been tacking around to make sure nothing's moving, because heat will pull those. So this corner did peel up just a hair, so I'm gonna get a C-clamp, smush that back together and get this corner tacked down, and then move over to the other side. Bam! Bam. Take your time now. Make sure everything's still movable right now. So move it now instead of cutting it off later. Ooh, that went into the shoe. I always wear the worst shoes for this. So before we put this internal gusset in, we're going to tack the inside portion of our D-ring blocks, because that's also going to be our mounting surface. This is the wrong side, but essentially this will be in like that. So put on the outside. Other side, yeah. Yep. So it'll be over here. So if you put welds on the bottom, on the outside, these aren't going to line up very well. So only on the bottom side, weld on the inside for the D-ring. So we're going to tack it in and then get our gusset in. So here's what we were talking about. You want this to be, at a 90-degree here, but the back, you also want that to be straight. So we're using 2 magnets, hold it in place. We'll get it tacked, get the magnets out, and we'll finish weld it. We're still working on this end, finish welding it, but just quick tip, flip this thing around, get the best shot at your weld as you can. Most comfortable position, because you got a decent amount of welding to do on this. So rotate it around, make sure you're welding your best. I've repositioned this thing pretty much every weld so that I'm trying to shoot down at it instead of directly on or underneath it. So Did you reposition that? I did not, and that side did not turn out as well. So that's why we're changing things up on this side, and this side's going a lot better. So a little more grinding needed over there than this side, but yeah, you live and learn. So our bumper is finish welded except for the wing plates or the filler plates under the taillights on the newer XJs. So we're gonna tack on our nuts. These are plain Jane nuts. They're not zinc coated or anything, so they're safe to weld. So just get your bolts in, nuts on, get them centered up. We're gonna throw a tack on each side, make sure they're solid. You don't have to finish weld it or anything like that. And then we only have enough bolts in there for one. So then we'll do the other side. So on the 97 to 01 XJs, they have this empty spot under the taillights section. So on our DIY bumper, we have these, they're bolt-on filler plates, but essentially you want a good flat surface and you got to tack weld the mounting plate to the wing plate. So it should look just like this. We're gonna put a little stitch, and a little stitch there. And then this will bolt onto our bumper to fill in that little spot there. All right, so now we got to undo some more work, you know, because we put our nice fancy dancy skid plate in there. We're gonna have to throw a jack under here, take all our bolts loose, get this new old nut plate out, and then we're gonna have to open up a window here. We're probably gonna come, you gotta go flush here, bring it up, I think about 3 1/4, and then we're gonna just kind of triangulate it down, take this little chunk out for our new plate to sit in there. So well, that'd be for this side, but essentially you'll have a little bit of this hook, might clear that, but just to make room, this is going to sit in the frame rail like so. So then you'll bolt this onto the bumper, slide the bumper in, and bolt it through. Get out the duct tape. All right, so we had to cut flush to the inside of the frame rail here so that the bracket could sit far enough over for our bolts to line up. And then we had to come up a hair, which was already in the window. We just squared it off and then brought it up. And so just slide right in like so. So essentially we'll bolt both sides. We'll get both sides cut up, get these prepped. We'll get them bolted to the bumper, get your buddy, slot them in. And then if you have, you know, the iron rock skid, or if you got a receiver, then you'll bolt all the way through all that into your new nut plate. So you'll just sandwich it all together after the bumper's kind of slid in there. So you might need to do some jostling around, but there should be enough play in your brackets that it'll line up. So first off, I apologize if you can hear Darth Vader breathing in the background. Our air compressor is airing down, but just want to go over one thing. These will come in your kit. It's essentially a sandwich plate for the bottom of your frame rail. We're not going to use them for the sole fact that we have full frame stiffeners and our skid plate for the gas tank. So there's plenty of metal there. It's not needed. But essentially this would go inside and cap the frame rail there. So use it if you want to. If you've got extra material like we do, it's not needed, but we're going to toss this one aside. We're going to get our plates bolted to our bumper. Like I said, it's not powder coated and, you know, finish sanded, but just so we can show you guys how it's going to fit and go in there, we're going to move on to that. So we just ground down to make sure that we're going to have a nice flat surface. And then essentially these are just going to get self-tapped into the pre-existing holes. So I think we're probably going to take a grinder, cut this off. Just doesn't look great shooting it from the back. It's all you see when all you want to see is the back of your tire. So we'll get that out of the way. Like I said, this isn't our final fitment. We started to get this thing ground down, powder coated to make it look real good, but we're just making sure everything's going to line up. With this is our first full weld of the new product. So, all right, so we are fully bolted in here. It does take a little bit of work, you know, going through multiple pieces of metal here. So we had to get some alignment bars out. Nothing too crazy, but skid plates back in, sandwich plates out. We got our little end frames here cut out, so it's a nice sleek look going through. You know, these are the plates I was talking about, that filler gap, which the 97 to 01s have. If you got a pre-97, your tail light comes down farther, so don't need the wing plates. So we're good on this install. We're going to end up taking this back out, getting it all sanded down nice and pretty, get it sent off to powder so that'll look a little better, match more of the underside of this thing. So finally got that first video install done. So next we got some gears. We're trying to get this thing done, waiting on a few other parts to show up so we can keep moving forward with it, but we're getting there. So stay tuned, continue watching the build, like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out.